Hi, I'm James Hamilton from Stumpy Nubs Woodworking Journal, and today I'm going to show you a new take on an old-timey workbench accessory that every modern woodworker should have. Just about every old-timey woodworker had a bench hook, and he probably used it as much as any tool in his shop. They were used to cut straight lines and miters quickly and accurately, and if you've ever used one, you know how handy they can be. But modern woodworkers have largely forgotten about the bench hook. First, they replaced them with things like these, miter boxes, which are great, but they're usually better suited for cutting 2x4s than precision woodworking. Then came the power chop saws, and now everything is just cut with horsepower. I'm not saying there isn't a place for that sort of thing, but sometimes you need a little more precision than 40 chunks of carbide spinning at 3,800 RPM can really give you. That's why the bench hook is making a comeback, even in power tool workshops. And when you see the precision that you can get from this version of the classic tool, you'll want to build your own too. My version combines two classic bench accessories, the bench hook and the shooting board. Bench hook shooting board combos aren't a new idea, but mine is a little different. Let me show you how it works. A bench hook gets its name from the way it hooks to the front edge of your workbench. That keeps it in place as the teeth of your saw push the workpiece against the rear fence. It's a lot easier to keep your workpiece from moving around on the bench as you cut as compared to trying to hold it still by hand without a bench hook. Slots cut in the fence help guide your saw, ensuring that you're cutting at a proper 90-degree angle or even at a 45 for a miter. Both the fence and the platform beneath support the wood fibers for a cleaner cut, and they protect your bench top from the saw teeth at the end of the cut. This bench hook also includes a shooting board feature, which I think is essential. After I make a cross cut, I can use a hand plane like this Bench Dog Smoother to trim the end grain. A good hand plane like this one is machined with the side at a 90-degree angle to the sole, so as it runs on its side, the cutter will true the end of the workpiece if your crosscut wasn't perfect. This method can also be used to precisely fine-tune the length of a workpiece for a perfect fit in your project. The same process can be used for a miter, though I recommend using a scrap to support the fibers on the back side as you plane, since you don't have the high fence to support them as you do with a 90-degree cut. The opposite angle can be planed on the bottom side of the shooting board. The value of this feature can't be overstated. Not only does it ensure that your miters are a perfect 45 degrees, but having the ability to fine-tune the length of a section of frame is essential. If one of the four sides on a frame or a box is slightly too long, you'll have gaps in the corners no matter how perfect your angles are. So a shooting board like this makes it easy to close up those gaps. As far as I know, this is the only design that incorporates a bench hook with a shooting board that has miter features like that. Now, you may wonder why the plane itself doesn't cut into the jig while you're shaving on the end of your workpiece. That's because a plane's iron doesn't go all the way to the edge of the sole. So that bit of cast iron rides against the fence and prevents the cutter from advancing and eating away at the fence with every stroke. I'm using a smoothing plane, but you could also use a block plane like this one. These are new planes, which are well machined, so they're suited for this purpose. But if you wish to use an old Stanley, you just have to spend a little time trying to get the sole and the side 90 degrees, and once you get that done, that'll work too. If you're a hand tool woodworker, you'll love the versatility of this jig. If you're a power tool user, you'll love the precision it adds to your more delicate crosscuts. Either way, you should have one of these. So I made a downloadable guide that walks you through the construction step by step and gives you detailed instructions on how to use it, including how to make mini bench hooks for supporting the ends of long work pieces. You'll find the guide at the link in the notes below this video or in the homemade tool section over at stumpynubs.com. Not only will you learn how to make and use a great accessory, you'll be supporting all the free tips and tutorials we produce every month. And while you're there, be sure to check out the latest issue of Stumpy Nubs Woodworking Journal, which is always full of tips, tricks, and tutorials designed to make you a better woodworker. You can read and subscribe for free at stumpynubs.com. Happy bench hooking!